Where to live in Prosper, Texas? These are the best neighborhoods and a must-see guide. If you're thinking about moving to Prosper, Texas, this is your shortcut to the perfect neighborhood without getting steered in the wrong direction.
A lot of agents will show you what works best for them, but not necessarily what works best for you. So in this video, we're going to break down some of our very favorite neighborhoods and really explain the pros and the cons. And to be clear, these are more established neighborhoods in Prosper. Would you agree?
Yes, we will do another video in the future that kind of goes over the Prosper ISD new build homes. But in this video, we're going to specifically talk about very well developed and maintained neighborhoods in Prosper that we think would be a good option for you.
Before we get started, I'm Holly Haven.
And I'm Andy Haven.
And we are the Haven Home Team, your North Texas real estate professionals. Today, we're super excited to talk to you about some of the top pre-existing neighborhoods in Prosper ISD that I would say probably define Prosper a little bit.
Yeah, I think if you're an original Prosperite or somebody who has grown up in Prosper, these neighborhoods might ring a bell. The first neighborhood that we wanted to mention is Lakes of Cima. This is a neighborhood that actually began being built back in 2007, but has recently been added on with an Estates of Cima, I believe it's called, yes, right off of Prosper Trail. This neighborhood has a really diverse price point of homes. Absolutely. It does go from about $500,000 all the way up to $1.6 million. And it has lots of options that you may not know exist. So it actually does have a community pool. And although it is an older neighborhood and a more well-established neighborhood, it also has ponds, parks, and one community pool in the middle of the neighborhood. You're able to fish in a lot of the ponds. It is catch and release, but it gives kids kind of something to do outside of the norm of riding their bike and going to the neighborhood pool.
Yeah, and I think it is a very good, what you would feel is a family-friendly neighborhood. There's an elementary within Cima.
There's gas stations nearby. There's also a preschool nearby, which is really awesome and convenient for young kids. Yeah,
the commute here is perfect, well placed within Prosper. A little bit of distance from those main roads you mentioned, but still super easy access. So this one is probably going to stay at the top of our list for many, many years to come. Even though it was started around 2007, you're getting that very Texas traditional feel, and we're starting to see many of those homes kind of go through that first rendition of full updating.
Yes, and another neighborhood that we wanted to mention just off of Lakes of Cima is actually Willow Ridge. And if you had grown up in Prosper, you've been here for quite a while, you know that these neighborhoods were generally grouped together. A lot of people may not even know that they're two separate neighborhoods. They share a main road through the middle of them. And Willow Ridge has similar amenities. They do generally have larger homes in the original part. They were built 2 stories, a lot of them over 2,500 square feet, whereas Cima did have usually smaller homes at the very early stages. And generally 1 story. So that is kind of the difference between the two, but they have a very similar feel in my opinion. Willow Ridge does have a community pool. It does have parks and ponds as well. And it's the way that Willow Ridge is set up is really awesome.
The other thing I really love about Willow Ridge is when I send a buyer or family in to just drive the neighborhood, see how it feels, it has a very welcoming, warm feel because of the way that it's designed. That winding main road with beautiful landscape and trees, and now those trees are very mature.
Yeah.
It really has a very different feel than a brand new construction community that has all of those little baby trees, that we have to start with. So you're definitely getting the benefits of that existing neighborhood, but it just still has a really rich, warm, and welcoming feel to it.
And Willow Ridge is located a little bit closer to Preston. So you're actually much closer to a lot of the shopping and the restaurants and all of the new construction and new developments that are coming. Yes. So that should help your values over the years, because you're not right on top of Preston, but you have that convenience if you want it.
Yeah, absolutely. The next neighborhood we want to talk about is Whitley Place. I love Whitley Place.
Yeah, this is a beautiful neighborhood. We were actually in Prosper whenever this neighborhood was starting to be built, and the neighborhood, or the elementary school, was where my little brother actually went to school, and we just love that area. It's a really great location.
Yeah, again, it's one of those areas, now it's a little more mature, but this particular land actually had quite a bit of mature trees to begin with. So This was just a really beautiful plot of land. It had actually been in the Whitley family for a very long time. And then when they sold it to the developers, and they called it Whitley Place. So that's your fun fact for the day, guys. So you have some beautiful, very large estate homes, a whole section of custom homes there in Whitley Place that they're almost tucked away. If you did not know it existed, you wouldn't know it was there.
Yeah, no, that's actually something that one of my friends was like, yeah, I live in Whitley Place. I'm like, where? She's like, in the back. I'm like, the back of where? Like, I had no idea. This was obviously many years ago, but I had no idea it existed. And it actually makes it a lot more private for those homeowners that are in the $1 million plus to 1.5 million plus.
There is an elementary school right there inside the neighborhood, so it's walkable for almost everybody who lives within Whitley Place.
There's a charter school
right across the street.
Outside.
Yeah.
And it's right off of Custer. So Custer and 380 is easy to access. Custer is also about to completely explode in a good way. We're about to get, I'm sure, lots of retail, industrial, lots of residential neighborhoods are about to be built along Custer. So at some point it will be, well, and the good thing is where Whitley Place is located, they've already done the construction of Custer. So you won't have to live through a main road through construction unless you're much further north on Custer.
Yeah, and Walnut Grove is just right on the backside of Whitley Place. So that construction and infrastructure is also completed. So this really puts you in a nice, quiet, well-established neighborhood and area where you have access to everything, but you're kind of insulated.
Yep. The next neighborhood that we wanted to mention is Whispering Farms. This is, again, I'm going to say this about every single neighborhood, but a lot of the well-developed and mature neighborhoods in Prosper are all very beautiful and are all my favorite. So Whispering Farms has, again, a very great location right off of Coit and Prosper Trail. So you're close to pretty much everything without being in the middle of everything, which is really nice. Most of the homes in this neighborhood are generally an acre or a half acre plus.
Yeah.
And the homes do range from 1.5 million all the way up. You're generally not going to see anything under $1 million unless it needs a full renovation. And if it does, we need to buy it now. But this neighborhood is awesome. It was actually built to have horse paths throughout the neighborhood. So you are allowed to have equestrian animals in this neighborhood. You are able to walk them on those paths. You don't see that as much anymore as we did in the past. But this is a very beautiful neighborhood with lots of opportunity, and still you can get some land.
Yeah. And the equestrian center is just outside of Whispering Farms. So if you are a horse person, you want to board your horses, you don't want them, just kind of in that 1 acre lot, there is an equestrian center there nearby.
And it doesn't have an elementary school in the neighborhood. It doesn't have parks. It doesn't have pools, but it does have a huge pond in the back that's actually called Town Lake. You can walk around the lake. There's a pavilion. You can sit out there as well. It's very beautiful. A lot of people go out there to fish. Again, catch and release. You probably don't want to eat those. I don't know how long they've been in there, but it is very beautiful and something that's an added amenity without having those HOA fees.
Another existing neighborhood in Prosper that definitely stands out kind of in comparison to Whispering Farms would be 12 Oaks.
Yes, yeah, that one is also a very mature and well-developed neighborhood. It's a much smaller neighborhood in comparison to Whispering Farms, but it's 1 acre to 2 acres generally. So you can find a bigger lot. You are generally going to have older homes, maybe renovated in the past couple of years. Since they've obviously been built in the last 20 years, it's time for a cute renovation. But these are great lots. A lot of them do back up to a creek, the Gentle Creek. If you have been in Prosper, that's a very common creek, but it's just a great neighborhood. A lot of families live there.
And you're looking for that kind of custom estate, just traditional custom homes. That's what you're going to find in 12 Oaks. It has a little bit different feel than Whispering Farms, but still one of those really sought after neighborhoods. Again, if a house hits the market in there and you're interested in this neighborhood, you need to grab it because they just don't come up very often. This is not a high turnover neighborhood, but 12 Oaks always kind of sticks at the top of our list when we're showing clients in that luxury price point.
The next neighborhood that we wanted to mention is Windsong Ranch. So if you've heard of Windsong Ranch, you may know about all of the amenities. It's a master plan community, and it's just a huge, massive neighborhood. And in comparison to the other neighborhoods, this one is not as old and not as mature and not as well developed. They're still building in Windsong Ranch. So if you are wanting a new build, this is something to take into consideration. But Windsong is known for its lagoon. A lagoon is basically a private pool that's absolutely massive, about the size of a lake. So this is something a lot of people don't know about. You can only bring, I believe, like 2 to 4 people at a time. This is not somewhere that you're going to have a big party and event, but it's a really cool amenity that a lot of the homeowners like to enjoy.
It's definitely the big draw to the neighborhood, but Windsong Ranch is great. The reason we have it on this list, we have this one and the next neighborhood, is because they do have some well-established parts of the neighborhood. It is just a continuing phases that we're seeing. So again, we have everything from under $1 million all the way up to $3-ish million, depending on which part of Windsong Ranch. They kind of have their own little neighborhoods within the community, but it's just a really well-designed neighborhood. Again, this was a beautifully master planned, and they did a great job of just making it feel so family friendly with golf carts and, you know, all of the events they put on throughout the year to really kind of help keep people involved and get to know your neighbors. There's a community garden, there's dog parks, there's biking and walking trails.
There's tennis courts, basketball courts,
everything. Fitness centers, all within the community. So this is kind of the move in, you know, if you work from home, you really might not drive. You might get in your golf cart to drop the kids off. If somebody is moving to this area and they don't know where they want to be, they almost always ask to at least look at Windsong.
Yeah, whenever people are moving out of state, the lagoon is really something that if you type in, where should I move in Texas or Prosper, Texas, the first thing that's going to come up is Windsong Ranch. So I do think that that kind of draws people in. But one of the pros of this neighborhood actually, and this is a very recent pro, is they just built a brand new high school for Prosper ISD that you can see from the neighborhood. So anybody that was originally in Windsong will now be zoned to the new high school, which is Richland High School. It was previously zoned to Prosper High School. So this will be a brand new school in 2026 or 2025, 2026, this new school year. There's also a middle school nearby and an elementary school in the neighborhood. So it makes everything very convenient. You're also right outside lots of shopping. There's, I mean, if you go to 380, you can get any type of food, grocery store, or convenience store, handyman store. There's every single thing you need is right outside this neighborhood. Yeah, and if you've been watching any of our videos, you know we warn you against 380. So they're like, oh my gosh, now they're telling us to move to 380. Guys, listen, you probably never have to actually get on 380. Yeah. You can take your golf cart up to all of the things that are on this side of 380, the north side, and then you can exit out the back of the neighborhood. If you're trying to leave the neighborhood, you really can avoid 380 pretty much completely and still get everything you're looking for within the community and then all the nearby amenities. And since we talked about Windsong, we cannot forget about Light Farms. Yeah, this is basically Windsong's twin. No, I'm just kidding. It's a very different vibe, but they are both master plan communities within Prosper ISD. They both have elementary schools in the neighborhood, both close to all of the schools, great locations. Light Farms is, in my opinion, a little bit more central and a better location if you want to be in the heart of Prosper. If you want to be closer to stores and all of the hustle and bustle, then I think Windsong Ranch is a little bit better if that's something that you're comparing. But Light Farms is a great neighborhood. There is, again, lots of neighborhoods within Light Farms. There's pools, there are parks, there is a restaurant called The Nook, which is really good. You actually don't have to be, you don't have to live in the neighborhood to go there. I go there often. The food is so amazing. It's a neighborhood that you can find your people. Yes. It is a massive neighborhood. Now keep in mind that this one is kind of actually Salina. It's that weird address thing where we are the city of Salina, but we are Prosper ISD. There is one section in the back of Light Farms that is Salina ISD. So if this is something that's very important to you, maybe you want to stay in Salina ISD, but you love Light Farms, we can help you with that. You just didn't know it existed. It's one small section of Light Farms. Well, and one of the pros of Light Farms in comparison to Windsong is actually the price range is much larger and more attainable. So there are homes in Light Farms that go all the way from $400,000 all the way up to $2 million. And the one thing that I wanted to go back and mention about Windsong is they actually do have townhouses and tiny homes, 2-bed, 2-bath homes for sale. So if you're a single mom or you really just don't need that much space, maybe you're retired, there are lots of options in these two master plan communities that allow for that, where you don't have to buy a 3,500 square foot home to live in the neighborhood and get those amenities. So okay, we want to go over a few what we might call bonus tips that are often overlooked when moving to Prosper Salina area. Yes. Yeah, one of the big ones here with all of the neighborhoods we've talked about today is reviewing and understanding HOA and kind of what values you get out of the HOA in comparison to how much you're paying. So that's something you definitely want to consider. In some of these more mature neighborhoods, your HOA is going to be a lot less, but you're also going to be getting a lot less, less amenities, less, all of the things. But in some of the bigger neighborhoods, you're going to be paying much more and also receiving much more amenities. Absolutely. Traffic, noise, congestion, those are things that are going to come up. And that's pretty much anything along that 380 corridor, which we mention pretty often. That would be the Windsong Ranch neighborhood that we talked about today. And what else? Anything else that we missed? Muds and PIDs. Muds and PIDs, that is something that you are going to see in the newer neighborhoods in Windsong Ranch and in Light Farms. You are generally going to see muds and pids.
Yep.
In these older, more mature neighborhoods, you are less likely to see that. You're also likely to see a lower tax rate depending on where you are at.
Yep.
You're all going to be in, well, here's another thing, counties.
Yes.
So Windsong Ranch is actually in Denton County. All of the other neighborhoods we mentioned today are going to be in Collin County. So that is a difference in tax rate as well. So just kind of compare apples to apples and see which one works out better for your family and where you'll want to end up.
And the best way to do that is hiring knowledgeable professional realtors that work in this Prosper and Salina market all day, every day.
Yeah.
So
I grew up here. We've lived here for years and years. So obviously it's easy to talk about some of these more mature neighborhoods.
So guys, if you have any questions, please drop those comments below. If you have any requests for future videos like muds and pids, for example, I'm sure that's something we'll be doing very soon. But what should they do? Like, subscribe.
Yeah. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions like she said, and we will see you guys in our next video on Friday.
Bye guys.